Hello, my name is Phillip Crocker, and I'm a financial coach here at Resource One Credit Union. And I'm here today to talk about when things go wrong with your credit. I've got something on my credit report that's negative, and I want to know, how long does it take to fall off? Well, that's a great question. Now, typically, things that are negative on your credit report take about 7 years from the date of last activity or access in order to fall off. Now, that's for most typical items. Maybe it's an item in a collection status or just negative information in general in a trade line on your credit report. However, there's other situations, things of public record, such as bankruptcies. Some types of bankruptcies fall off after 7 years, but other types of bankruptcies fall off after 10 years. So there's different things to look at, different types of things, information on your credit report that may be of a derogatory nature. So it typically takes about 7 to 10 years, depending on what the item is, to fall off your credit report. But what's important to note is that if a negative or derogatory item is still on your credit report, it's still pulling down your credit score. So there's ramifications of having negative and derogatory credit on your credit report. Now, things that have a much recent history of being negative have a greater impact on your credit score. If something has been on your credit report for many years, but yet hasn't fallen off, the ramifications on your credit score, they're still there, but it has far less impact. In the circumstance of something inaccurate, the information on your credit report, you look at it and you say, hey, that's not right. What do I do? Well, obviously, you're going to have to contact the credit bureau that you see the information, but you may also assume that it might be on the other two credit bureaus as well. Now, each credit bureau is independent, and there's 3 primary credit bureaus: Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. So depending on the bureau report that you're looking at, usually if negative or inaccurate information about you is on a report on one, it's dutiful to look at the other 2 as well. Now, in the circumstance that there is inaccurate information, you can contact each bureau and fill out a form online on their website. In the olden days, people used to have to write letters. You don't have to do that anymore. It's quite simple. You simply go to the website of that credit bureau, look in the search engine, or usually in the main tabs or tiles on that website to find out how to report inaccurate information. Fill out the information online and hit send, and usually pretty quickly they will get back to you. If you're disputing something of information, maybe with a creditor, obviously the bureau is going to contact the client, in this case being the creditor. Okay, the consumer is who the report's about, but the creditor is actually the client that reports the relationship to the bureau. The bureau will contact the creditor and say, this consumer says that this information is inaccurate, and you need to prove to us that it is correct. If they do not prove that the information is in fact inaccurate, then the bureau will change it and take the consumer's word for it and change the information. But if it's simple information, maybe like address, history of things, personal identifiers, things of that information, there's really no client to dispute with, and the information's changed. Usually when people see inaccurate information on the report, it has to do with a creditor, and they don't agree with what's being said about them in that report. So again, you can simply contact the bureau online, fill out the necessary forms, submit it, and then the guidance is to also contact the other 2 bureaus to make sure the same inaccurate information is not with those bureaus as well. All right, often in a credit relationship, in order for somebody to gain something in your life, maybe it's purchasing a vehicle, getting a credit card, something of that nature. Oftentimes on their own warrants, they are not able to receive the proceeds of that loan. And so they need a cosigner, okay? In essence, that cosigner has become a joint with that creditor. So in order for someone to accept the proceeds of the loan, they have to have a cosigner. And in some instances, the person that is the primary beneficiary of that loan agreement decides not to pay the creditor back. And they become late, and that has ramifications. And it more or less starts to have a negative impact on their credit. But what it also does is it has a negative impact on the cosigner's credit. The question then becomes, what can be done? When things really go wrong, if you're a cosigner, what can be done? Well, the unfortunate fact is this. If the primary beneficiary of the loan does not repay the loan back, you're a cosigner. Therefore, you have equal responsibility of making sure that loan's paid back. If the loan is not paid back or paid back on time, it has negative ramifications on your credit report. Therefore, lowering your credit score. So if this has happened, the only thing that you can do is contact the creditor and find out if there's something you can do to start paying back on this loan, and see if you can negotiate settlement or the removal of this trade line when things have gone terribly wrong. Maybe there was a repossession, or maybe the creditor wrote off the loan, so to speak. In order to get all this to go away, you're going to have to contact the creditor, and you're going to have to negotiate settlement for removal. Okay. Now, any consumer can do that on their own, or you can seek outside legal counsel, and they can help you with that process. But when things go wrong by being a cosigner, it's kind of a lesson learned. You really have to know and trust who you're entering into that credit agreement with, because if they decide to pay late or not pay at all, okay, the ramifications to you is going to be the same that it is for them. Even if they agreed to pay everything back on their own and you now have really no financial obligation, just co-sign for me and I'll take care of everything. Well, that's simply your word and their word in a relationship. But in the contractual legal agreement that you enter in with a creditor, it really doesn't hold a lot of weight. You're still responsible for making sure that that loan is paid back in full and paid on time. And if either one of those things do not happen, there's going to be negative consequences on your credit score and your credit worthiness. And that will impact your future access and current access to credit. If you're looking for help with improving your credit situation, there are several options to consider. Resource One offers the Credit Builder loan and credit monitoring service through our online banking. And of course, our budget buddies are here to help you with other options. See the video description below for a link to our Budget Buddy page. You can search a list of our budget buddies and set up an appointment to meet. This service is free for Resource One Credit Union members. We hope that you enjoyed this session today. Take care.